All right, welcome back to the second matchup of the day in Season 3 quarterfinals here at Dead by Dawn. Today, we have Odyssey killing versus Eneida. I'm the Blighted Killer, and I am, despite his flagrant deception, again joined by Baron. Baron, how are you?
I hate it here. No, I'm joking. I love you guys. I am, you know, feeling optimistic in a sense. Blight is one of my favorite sets. As I know it is many people's favorite sets. I think we heard. Did we hear? No, we didn't hear one. Hex pop already, but we are seeing our disaster working on a hex at the moment. So that's going to be the first hex gone, which means he just has ruin and eruption left his perks. Really, I mean, corrupt's still up, but I mean, everyone's already split out. We have two gens active. This chase is not in quite yet, and another hex has been found. So he's lost both of his hexes within the span of this first chase. I do not envy Cyber Eye's position right now at all.
Yeah, very unlucky to lose both of your hexes instantaneously. But if you are the Blighted Killer in this instance, where you're losing both of your hexes at the beginning of the game, you have to imagine that their gen progress is going to be very low, which means that even though that chase seemed like it went a little bit long, especially by Blight standards, it's not actually as long in the grand scheme of the game because the survivors spent so much time cleansing those totems. And he got that down in this top side where he's got a nice little 3 gen with this mid tie-in, and I mean, the beginning of this game has went pretty well for him, all things considered. I mean, lots of resources gone, and like not a whole lot the survivors can do to get this survivor to the bottom of the map if the blight decides to camp this out.
And I think that may be what we see. Now, we see two gens with a fair degree of prog on them. The one down by Shack is gonna pop. That's a given. I'm trying to see where the other one is. The other one seems to be like 5 mid, so both those gens are gonna pop. The question is whether or not our Lemonade's going to be able to make it down bottom to make those gen pops count and to give our survivors an opportunity to pop these top gens. This is all up to Cyber Eye right now, and unfortunately for Lemonade, he doesn't quite make it. He is going to be hooked up top again, and we boost stealthing for a flashbang save or something. If Cyber Eye really wanted to, he could slug this, but I think he realizes the importance of picking this and taking that guy right back up top. This is going to be very interesting indeed. I'm interested to see how the survivors get themselves out of this particular situation they find themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I was saying, trying to get the survivor to bottom is so important, and Cybereye recognizes that. And instead of pursuing what could have been a pretty decent snowball for him, he opts to just take his hook as what we can only assume was Deliverance managed to sneak in and get that unhook, which as he panned his camera over it, we as spectators managed to see her, but I don't think Cybereye saw her quick enough, and that's going to be her going down in this top side still as we see a survivor rotating for this pole. And this could be an incredibly quick tunnel out if Cyber can confirm this and convert it into a down.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think he can. And Liminal, I'm not entirely sure if you're spectating in game or not, but Lemonade is the Delhi player.
Oh,
So, so we Delhi is tunnel out, and I think we're going to be seeing a very quick tunnel out indeed. And Delhi is just gone. So that's not going to be a factor at all for the rest of the match. This match will be determined by how quickly we can get this tunnel out done. Um, I still don't envy um Cyber position right now because I believe we have two. No, we have only have one active gen. It was at main, and they're going to go ahead and reset here. So if Cyber can get this pulled off fast enough, the Blight, being the Blighted Killer as he is, can go ahead and ping back and forth between that top mid gen, and what I believe to be 2 and 10. So this is looking pretty promising for him.
yeah, I mean, this tunnel out took a little bit longer. That new palette update, putting that palette right in front of Shaq every time, guaranteed. And allowing the survivor to make it all the way to bottom also means that there's not a lot of pressure on the top side of this map, as they did manage to break this egregious 3 gen. And the position that Cyber is in right now, while looking grim, could very easily convert into a lot of a bigger result because of the nature of his mobility. If you manage to get a down quick enough and then slug it out to go pressure those gens across the map, like Surfs have to come all the way cross the map again, get the slug picked up, all while you're chasing another survivor, potentially getting them down. Like that is the power of this killer, and we will see if we are about to see that come through.
We will see. But keep in mind, chat, our blight only has one perk. All we have right now is eruption. The hex is being popped immediately at the beginning of the match during the first chase. Corrupt being a beginning of the game perk. We only have one perk in play here. And so this is gonna be interesting. But even though we only have one perk in play here, this is the blighted killer. Oh my gosh, what a juke.
Yeah, that locker hop causing the blight to swing. He still managed to break the pallet with it though, which is a silver lining in that situation. And we saw not only the pickup on the slug, but a very quick reset onto our Jeff player in the top side of the map. And we are opting to just take this hook. And I mean, we know that Delhi is out of play, but I don't know if Cyber Eye expects as much. They did, start the game off chasing one survivor and then kind of veered off to chase a survivor who is seemingly stealthing around main building. So maybe he has some kind of, idea that maybe that's the player that has our deliverance on it. But without being 100% certain, he probably needs to be a little bit worried that, the survivors were very content just getting the pick and getting the reset because this survivor is just going to be, fine, which we know is not true, but
Right,
as we
but I
find our
mean,
Jeff.
keep in mind though, and I'm looking at these perks. While Delhi was the tunnel out, Unbreakable was not on Delhi, which is normally the standard go to. Unbreakable is on Proxer, which is really interesting, and we could see come into play here in a moment.
Oh, we got
Oh,
a little bit wiggly there, so we missed the hit, stopping the unhook, and now we've got two survivors up again with, Jeff down over there in 3. And you're right. Like, it's very unheard of to not put your UB on the deli because that's the power, right? You just run in, you take the trade, even if you get slugged, you don't really care as long as the person who got unhooked makes a decent bit of distance, and like then you just pick yourself up and it's as if nothing ever happened. But um we managed to get the Jeff up and get the down in return onto the V. And, that we're going to see that UB come through any moment now, as we do. And I mean, Cyber Eye looked like he was in a really good spot, but like the survivors are doing a wonderful job of taking every little bit of resources they have and, running, an extra mile with it.
no, I agree. And what's really interesting here is I wonder if Cyber thinks that Proxer is Delhi here. That may be the fake out that the survivors were going for. If you see the UB before the Delhi, you may assume that the UB player is the Delhi player. So that could be one hell of a mind game. I don't think they're going to get much use out of it due to the injuries on the board and Jin's progress and everything that we see. But that would be interesting to see if there could be a situation where he could pick up Proxer and it would be a decent play otherwise, but he assumes that Proxer's Delhi and opts not to. I think that would be kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that like risk of Cyber Eye unbeknownstly throwing the game because he, designates not to hook that survivor just for the sake of, that deli scare. But I don't know if it's really gonna play a massive portion. I also think that, Proxer either had a medkit or some other way to reset themselves because we find them being healthy again. And
Oh,
oh, as we find them in the
yeah.
locker, unlucky.
No, I saw that locker happen. And he is gonna go ahead and opt to hook him. I'm curious to whether or not he's gonna camp him here. And it doesn't look like he is, which is a really interesting decision. Um, though I guess he kind of is. Um, but uh, but yeah, no, this was a crazy match. We're going to be seeing a 4K at 2 gens remaining. So the win con for the Survivor's Blight is going to be a 4K3, Tycon 4K2, Lost 4K1. That's going to be very interesting indeed. So there's not a whole lot more to yap about.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, he really is just worried about it being Delhi because of the perks he's seen in play, but we know that Proxer, in fact, does not have it. And Cyber Eye is starting to realize that with this survivor not just sending it, there's no way they really have it. So they're going to opt to just hook our V player here and end our match and send us into game 2 of match 1 of these two teams.
yeah, and we look forward to seeing you here for the second half of this set, and stay tuned.
All right, welcome back for game 2, match 1. This time we have Eneida on the killer, playing the Blight on Self-Opit versus Odyssey survivors as we get a really quick tag here on the edge map. And Baron, what do we need to win with a 4K3?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we need a 4K3. This fast down really helps. I think another thing that really helps is, the survivors not instantly being on his totems like roaches. Um, yeah, no, I mean, this is looking really good for Boo. Really quick first tag, really quick first down. Um, at 5 gens. I like, what is there to say here? And even has a cheeky devour, which is a really interesting choice on the blighted killer. But I do think we'll catch our survivors off guard. We are going to go ahead and follow up for that really quick tunnel out. Yeah, no, honestly, if I were Boo, I'm feeling pretty optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, the cheeky devour because of that really steep win con, and survivors are not going to expect it as we see Undying go down there. And the one thing that we know that I was just about to say is that this survivor has DS, and the survivor that unhooked is actually the Deli player, which is a tool that got taken away in the previous game.
Yeah, it is, but that DS, because it's the blighted killer, does not get them very far. We are still at 5 gens remaining. Another totem being cleansed. Is this the Ruin or is it the Devour? It's the Ruin, so Devour is still in play. We'll probably get 1 or 2 instances of that before before it's gone, but it is going to be very interesting, and I imagine it will help. Now, no one is on gens at the moment. Now, we do have someone on a gen. Cyber has gotten on this gen, I want to say 10, if I'm not mistaken. And, yeah, I mean, still, like, this is not looking bad for Boo at all.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is that with it being a cheeky devour that you don't expect to see on the blight, that because of the nature of his power, like the servers are just going to stop looking for totems. Like, why would they? Like, there's not really anything allowed that is super oppressive that the survivors really need to worry about as we see the For the People come through on our tunnel out. And, like, that could come into play and give us, a reasonable value out of it, which is exactly what you would need if, you're 1 gen away from, losing your win con.
Yeah, oh my gosh, and beautiful win game coming out of this 4-lane 8. And, we may just get some Devour value here in a moment. He has this beautiful hill hook, which is going to set him up really well to come back and get some Devour value. So I'm pretty interested to see how this goes. Another gen is about to pop right now, and yeah, 3 gens remaining. This is still pretty great pressure. However, keep in mind, chat, if he wants this win, it has to come in without another gen popping. Tycon is definitely within reach, but as far as in this win con is concerned, I would be lying to you if I said that I wasn't moderately worried about him. Or worried for him, excuse me.
Oh, and a beautiful hit through the window there. And yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. Like, this game has to end right now if Boo wants to win this match. And that's really difficult when you're talking about a map like Suffolk Pit, where even though the Blight is incredibly mobile, it's still very large. And even when you get there, like, you're not going to have your power, which you know, with Devour, I think our Blight is a little bit less worried about, but even still, it's like you have to shoot through every pallet on the bottom side of the map there, or all the way here on your way, and he's going to opt to use his power, which means he's not even going to get Devour value, really, and, like, it's a really tough situation to be in, although we will see the Devour come through here
Ooh.
on the Claudette on the edge, who was not expecting it here in 3.
Yeah, but this gen is about to pop here, and I want to say 7. So unless he gets down there by some miracle before it does, and I don't think he does, it's not going to be enough in time to stop it. This is going to be a tie at best. And our survivors know that, and Zulz just sticks it right in his face, and there's nothing he can do about it. So this is Tycon right here. If another gen gets popped, it is curtains. Well, rather, it's a tie. Or no, excuse me. If another gen gets popped, it is curtains for the Blight's team. But if we manage to keep them at 2 gens right now, this will be a tie. So I'm interested to see how the survivors play this out.
Yeah, I mean, they opted to let that Survivor go second too, which means you have to know that they're like getting as much progress for as little time as they had. And like we're entering a 3v1 now. You know, Devour's still up, so resetting isn't super valuable. And like these survivors have to be a little bit worried that like if they do not manage to accrue enough pressure here, that in the 3v1 it becomes really, really difficult to pop even a singular extra gen. And we kind of saw it in the previous game how difficult it was as this down comes through on Cybereye, and we'll just have to see with the Devour more even that 3 free stages on entering a 2v1 on 2 gens might just secure our tie.
Yeah, I think it will. You know, I was pretty skeptical of the Devour pick at first, but holy was their value. I mean, it was just so super lucky for Boo that both of those first totems that were got, um, just didn't happen to be Devour. Like, I mean, the amount of value that he has gotten in this match is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I mean, now he's got a slug on the bottom side. They have really no progress to speak of. Now, he does still have to find Ada, which is a survivor that historically can be pretty difficult to find, even while injured, let alone, you know, healthy like she is. And it mostly would just be survivors, you know, acting on borrowed time. Like, they're not really going to be able to, you know, come back from this spot that they're in right now with no prog. You know, Devour still up 5 stacks. Like, but at the very least, it gives a glimmer of hope. You know, if the survivors can manage to get this pick and, you know, get split up on either side of the map. But we're just going to be in this long, you know, drawn out back and forth of like this Blight really does not want this survivor to like get hatch or get a door, because like you're losing a stage if they do. So
Right. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think his doors are pretty decent, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say there's 1-3 and like 11, though I could be mistaken. I know I saw the 1-3. I'm kind of guessing on the one on the other one. But I don't know. We may see like a cheeky trauma tech or something coming in. Now Ada's still fairly distant from the slug, but like that isn't an insane possibility.
yeah, I mean, we're talking about things that we haven't seen in matches in a long time, you know, in the previous matchup. But if we were to see a trauma tech here, that would be another one of those really old school, really efficient, really effective methods to, you know, secure just like it's still a tie, but in the overall state of stages, like you still get a stage out, which breaks that tiebreaker in overall points. And like that matters when, you know, it's a set like the Blight where, you know, it's so close. And, you know, with the way that we do things where, you know, if you tie the first set, whoever takes the second set wins, and then you're going into, you know, your pick, like maybe you don't really care as much as but for the survivors, they have to care a lot, right? Because like they're not expecting to get a big explosive result out of a set that they didn't pick. And if they can win this one instead of conceding a tie, they don't, you know, run the risk of, you know, anything happening in game 2 and them losing, you know, just because of that unfortunate circumstance.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, this is ooh, I don't even know what to call this. It's nerve-wracking, really. I do not envy the Blight's position. I mean, this was super well played by both sides, but for this to come down to this has to feel really heart-wrenching. Gut-wrenching, rather.
Yeah, and I mean, it's rough when, you have this slug and you're battling with this concept of whether or not you're going to just hook them or if you're going to slug them. As like, it is a risk that you play, and we do see the Claudette crawl to the hatch position, and the Blight is just not going to have it. He's just going to hook on this hill, close the hatch, and play for his doors, which I think is the best case scenario for him to guarantee that this like power play can't happen from the survivors. But I mean, door positions are going to be everything here. Where like if that door is all the way in like 12, who knows if the Blight even makes it all the way there in time? But you know, which it is in 11. But you have to think that like those survivors were, you know, hedging for that trauma tech really heavily there. That it's very unlikely that they could have instantly rotated the door, but not impossible.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I like well played by both sides. I don't really know what Boo could have done differently there. Um I am waiting on my refs, I think. Because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. But it does look like Odyssey does take this set. Very well played by both sides. And what is our next set, Liminal?
All right, so we have artist coming up with Odyssey uh, on Survivor again, which I mean, you just have to give them kudos there. That was just excellently played. I mean, they set up for a trauma tech if the Blight, went top looking for them. And if he didn't go top, then that gate was all the way in 11. There was just too much distance for him to cover to prevent it. I think if he had went straight there with confidence, he may have interrupted it because of that like awkward rotate where Ada kind of had to stay mid map to, play whichever win con they needed to force, and like that just kind of paid out for them that the Blight decided not to do it. But we'll see if Eneida can take this artist set and push them into a tiebreaker. All right, welcome back to match two, game one. Eneida on the artist killer, and we have just seen what was a remarkable gameplay from the survivors of Odyssey, who will be playing Survivor again here, managing to get that extra stage out during a TieCon to secure the win in that match for their team. As we find the ace here pretty quickly. How are we feeling, Baron?
You know, I'm feeling some sort of way. I know that whenever I was active in comp, the artist killer was one of my least favorites. It's very interesting to watch, but it's very painful to play against because it's just hold W simulator all the way. It's how well you can hold W, how well you can be altruistic for your team in taking those birds when you can. Um, but I don't think that's going to keep us from having a very interesting match here. We have a very quick down here at 10. Followed by a quick PR on this Hill 11, I think. This is looking pretty good for Disaster, I might say.
Yeah, I mean, Artist is such a like macro heavy set and requires altruism to get anything out of your micro. And I mean, they played it really well. They managed to get him up to the top side of the map from all the way deep bottom. And that PR on the hill 11 and catching our other survivor here in the top side of the map. As we see another survivor stealthing here on this truck, but did our killer see it? It does seem that he did. And this is looking really rough for our survivors because with the way that the artist plays, it can be really difficult to get your survivors where they need to go, as we see the severed hands coming through, getting our infect on our tunnel out. And I mean, survivors have a long way to go if they want to make anything out of this match.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, this ace is just going to be down for the count here. He does not make that pallet. The question is whether or not Nancy gets away with this cheeky pallet save. And oh my gosh, she gets seen! Bro, she's cooked! That's
Yeah, I
so
mean,
huge for Disaster right now. So we have the tunnel out down on the ground. We have the saver, or at least the Nancy down as well. This is looking really questionable for our survivors. So this is nearly going to be an all hands on deck situation. Someone is still working too right now, and it looks like Ada's setting up for some sort of flashlight save. And oh, what is, no way, no way. Wait, oh my gosh. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I kind of, my ass just clenched a little. Pardon the crassness of the expression, but oh my gosh, did I see Disaster's life flash right before his very eyes.
yeah, I mean, that would have been incredibly rough for Disaster, giving the survivors back everything that they needed to get back in this game, had that flashlight save come through. But I think the angle was just a little bit off as their survivors managed to, recover a little bit here. With us seeing that Gen into popping, breaking the 3 gen here on the top side, and beautiful stun here on the artist killer. And I mean, serves are fighting. I mean, it's really rough. They're in a not so great position, but they've come out of this with a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, they certainly have, and we're gonna follow that up with a second pain res on this kill 11. And it doesn't seem to me, yeah, they have no gen prog. Like, if they had any gen prog, it's currently being put on hold, in favor of a heal that seems to be happening bot mid. Someone is stealthing what looks to be two edge. And I can't help but to wonder if Disaster is going to become wise to it as he goes back up the map. But no, it seems he's interested in possibly harassing this person down here bot mid, and this person that was edging too seems to be circling back around for the unhook 11. What are you thinking right now?
So the Serbs managed to pop that top side 3 gen because all of their chases were going there, and they knew that that was, best case scenario. But they still have a pretty decent 3 gen here on the bot side of the map, as we see a beautiful bird come through on our tunnel out, no less. But the problem here is that there's so many resources here on the bottom side of the map still, because there hasn't been a chase here. As we swap targets a little bit to try and stop that assistance from our V onto our ace. And I mean, you're seeing that team play that's required here.
Right.
Where,
Sorry.
and through the
Like,
pallet.
yeah, no, like, I'm really surprised that Ace, that Disaster kind of let Ace get away so long. I'm surprised the move there wasn't to possibly take pallet control, but I mean, it was so short that I suppose it really didn't matter. And we do see a down and death coming in at 3 gens remaining. And we only have 1 gen that is active at the moment. It's this Gen 11 on this hill. Nancy is on it, so if Disaster finds her, the survivors could be in a really dangerous situation indeed. If he finds her and manages to get a quick chase, we could be looking at a 4K1 situation, but it doesn't look like he's going to go up there and find Nancy. Nancy's probably going to get to pop this Gen 11 for free.
Yeah, I mean, survivors have decided that, like, in the position that we're in with a death on 3, like, our best case scenario is like 4K1, 4K2 territory, depending on how well the artist plays it. And we have a bunch of resources bottom side. So even though, our gens are here, our 3 gen is here, with all that prog and 11 top side of the map, like, we need to just take our chase here in the bottom, have a good chase, see if we can extend it as long as possible, get as much progress for as little time as we can, and see what happens. And honestly, they're doing a very good job of it. As forced to path away, this V does make it to this, like, weird modified, like, LT jungle gym.
Yeah, no, I would call this kind of a the call it a bastardized short wall, if you will. Because it's essentially like a short wall setup. They've just made that wall side to the window a little bit longer, but that's neither here nor there. We do see another gen pop, and I think a knotted down. Liminal. I honestly, looking at that, that looked like that should have been a hell state to me. Can you explain to me and perhaps some of the other confused viewers here why that wasn't? Do you know?
So I think that the window was just right on the edge of the bird, but what ends up happening is if you put a pallet or vault a window and put something between you and the bird, it just auto dedicates into a swarm instead of an injure. And I think that she had that like age old thing where they queue the vault maybe a lot earlier than it seems like they did, and so they managed to get the vault even though when they shouldn't. It's a lot more common, for like Herman is a good example, the
Right.
doctor, where you queue a shock and they still queue the vault or the pallet throw like right as they get shocked, so they still get the validation. And I think that's a very similar thing that we're seeing here with that bird, where it's like it was just on the edge and she managed to queue that vault. So the game decided, you know what, you're on the other side of that vault, even though she clearly wasn't, and gave a swarm instead.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it didn't seem to matter too terribly. We did see that down come in. We have a hook, and Nancy is stealthing. Our artist just walked by Nancy, by the way. Did not happen to see her, and it would seem Zulz is working Shack. So this is this is looking a little scary. We could be getting into 4K0 territory.
Yeah, I mean, that game plan the survivors had of just player chase bottom, even though all the gens and the 3 gen are here, like you're conceding that it could potentially be a 4K1. Just crank on the bottom, or take the chase out the bottom, crank out the top gens, let them have it, let us get as much done as we possibly can. And I mean, they just had a spectacular chase and even made it all the way back top with the chase so that they could rotate back to bottom and start working bottom gens. And I mean, from this position right now with that unhook coming through, resets are going to happen. If this chase isn't quick, like you're exactly right. We could see a 4K0 instead of that 4K1.
Yeah, we're gonna see Zul's opt to die edge map 5 though, and we're gonna follow that up with a pain res. So that means Shaq is gonna continue regressing, and this is looking okay again for Disaster actually. Now it is Cyber Eye that's stealthing bot mid for the save, but I'm interested to see how this plays. Oh my gosh, he's gonna get found. No way! What a good find by Disaster. So Cyber gets caught with his pants down, stealthing edge 3 or edge 4. And this honestly, this could go either way. I'm predicting at this very moment a 4K1, but it really could go any way if Disaster manages to get some good information right now. And even without the information, I think he still interrupts this gen. Let me take a look and see what gen she was working. Yeah, she's working 10 right now. And Disaster sees her. Yeah, this is a 4K2, people. So well played by both sides. And this is a very, very winnable result for these survivors. For this well it's at least at the very least a tiable result for the survivors artist, though it is winnable. Like anything can happen, as DBDB, and so I mean, what are your predictions for this second half of this matchup?
I mean, even in this game alone, we saw earlier where it was looking like it could end up being a 4K3. So the win con is definitely achievable if he has as much of an explosive start as Eneida's artist happened to have in this game. But one of those things there is that our artist did check that gen at bus first and didn't see that it had all this progress, and because of that he almost lost that gen. I don't actually know how close it was, if it was like 95 or 99, but I almost can't help but think that maybe the Ada should have just stuck it and at least attempted to pop it given how close it was. But the big like decision and deciding factor here was that Cyber got caught out on the edge map there, like not the best stealth possible, that could have come from him there. He really, really should have stealthed into the tile, maybe into a locker to prevent the artist just walking past him like she did. And because he didn't, it cost him. Like, he manages to get that really quick down on Cyber and Shaq, and like Ada has to make a decision: just sit the gen or rotate. And unfortunately, they, you know, didn't quite get the gen.
No, they didn't. I mean, that Jin was sitting at about 90 when she got chased off of it. So, I mean, I don't think she really. I mean, she couldn't have committed. It was just, I mean, really excellent timing on Disaster's part in between finding Cyber with his pants down and, making that quick pivot to 10. Like, there isn't a whole lot that the survivors could have done at that point. It was really exciting, very well played by both sides, and I look forward to seeing the next half of this set.
All right, welcome back to game two, match two. This time we have Odyssey on the killer with Eneida on the survivor. Our killer has a pretty surmountable win con here where they need to like get that 4K3, which I mean, not impossible, but quite difficult as we're, have some pretty good stealth coming out here at the beginning of the game. Baron, what do you feel needs to happen here?
I feel like the artist needs to get some really quick downs and some quick hooks so I can go eat. No, I'm joking. That's fucked up. But what really needs to happen here for the artist to pull something off is, yes, we need a really fast first down coming in, and like we need to pressure these survivors off of gens, keep them guessing. We see a lot of stealth happening right now. I think the survivor's plan is to wait out Corrupt. So ideally, he catches one of them stealthing and, just by happenstance, pushes them into another one and builds up some pressure that way. But I mean, it really could be anyone's game. We very well may be heading into TB here.
Yeah, I mean, the survivors know that the worst thing that could happen for them right now is to get caught out and give a free tag and give that quick down, because like they only have to pop 4 gens, like, which is really obtainable if you play this really slow, like, passive, safe game that they're looking to play here. And like, I don't know that, like, again, with how like uncommon it is for serves to wait out Corrupt anymore, like he may not even be suspecting that as a like possibility here, as we finally come all the way up here into our Corrupt to start looking for that stealth, and we really need to find it before serves start being able to crank these gens.
And we do see our first survivor being found. Now, I don't think we're going to convert this into a hit, but we do have some information nonetheless. Cyber knowing that the stealth has to be somewhere around tier 5, he does find him on a hill, and this is not BL. I say that as okay, there is BL in play. So this is not BL. So this is going to be a fairly quick injury, though I'm not entirely sure if we're going to be able to convert that into a fast down. There is someone else here at 8, by the way. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, just about anything could happen here.
Yeah, I mean, we found the really quick tag on the hill. Not a whole lot that the Cheryl could do, but I mean, it has already insofar turned into a very decent chase as we swing to try to hit him through that window, but don't quite connect. As like there has to be a lot of progress going at this point.
No way. That was the juke of the century, but he does end up vaulting into Cyber. Cyber is probably feeling quite a bit relieved by that because, my god, was that a hell of a juke. Had he just gunned it up top mid, I actually think he could have made something else. But that is the way the cookie crumbles. We are going to see a hook coming in here at 5. and it was the first PR. So we have two gens right now that are pert near 99. One just got PR'd, but it's not going to matter because it's topside. That gen that is at like 90 right now is sitting up there at 2. So it's going to pop too. And I mean, we'd be kidding ourselves if we said that there was any chance in hell that we were going to see a 4K3. We're just lying to ourselves at that point. It does look like we are going to be heading into tiebreaker, truly, no matter what happens at this point. Um, I mean, maybe you see something that I don't, Liminal.
Yeah, I mean, the survivors don't even really have to care about a 3-gen. Like, if they break it, great, but if they don't, like, not the end of the world for them because their win con is literally, you know, 2 generators away and their tie con is only 1 away. And you see the survivors still managing to take this chase to the top side of the map, which is exactly where they want it to go. Although they don't quite make it. Agitation in play as well, so he is going to be able to drag them back bottom if he so chooses, which he does not. Opts for the pain res instead.
And we do get that PR coming in. The active gen is Shaq. And it does look like Cyberride does want to go back and contest that. But the question is truly, like, I mean, at what cost? If we spend enough time here, another gen's gonna pop anyways. Like I said, there isn't a whole lot that CyberEye can do at this point to secure a win. We are, I'd say, at most playing for tie here. Though I guess my question for the refs is, I know that this team's killer has it's 1-0 right now in favor of this killer's team. If the survivors tie it here instead of winning, I guess my question for the ref is what happens with the tiebreaker? Like, how are we going to calculate points there? Because that is going to determine a lot. But what are you thinking about what you're seeing in the match at the moment?
I mean, with how these chases have been going, they're not quick enough. We're not building enough pressure. We can't really afford to camp, but we chose to anyway. And like, there's just a lot going into the favor of the survivors here. And it's looking very rough for CyberEye. Like, 1 gen until TyCon. Like, you have to end the game and kill all 4 survivors right now if you want a chance at winning. And not even a second staged survivor until Proxer goes down, as we see that gen pop, presumably in Shaq. And that will push us towards tie. And I mean, if survivors are efficient enough, they will, you know, be going into that, you know, victory lap of popping that 1 last gen that they need to secure their win.
Right. So yeah, no. So we are looking at a possible win for the survivors. I think the idea that they are gonna tie this is pretty unlikely. The survivors are looking pretty comfortable to take this win, so it's going to more than likely be a 1-1 going in to the tie-breaking set, which is unknown. This is I mean, it's been really interesting. Like I said, I really just did not envy CyberEye's win con. 4K3, it's possible, but as you said at the beginning of the match, it's incredibly steep, very hard to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, this artist is a very strong killer, but it's a lot of macro. Like, if the survivors are making good heads up decisions, like, it doesn't really matter what the artist is doing. The survivors will just always, you know, 1 step at a time clamber forward. And like, in the inverse, as survivors are making, you know, a lot of macro decision making mistakes, then the artist can just punish that so terribly with, you know, birds preventing gens, preventing unhooks, proxying from, you know, greater than normal distance. And we do see the gen popping, confirming that our survivor team takes the set, making the entire match 1-1, which means we will be going to tiebreaker, as we have another just really good, like, time wasting chase here on the top side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cyber Eye recognizes that it's a loss at this point, so taking any chases that he can, just for the fun of it, I think. And yeah, no, so I mean, there isn't a whole lot more to yap about, I suppose. What are your expectations for this upcoming match?
All right, so as we wrap this match up to see if they manage to get everybody out here, which is seeming like we're actually about to confirm another second or another fresh stage, even. But the unknown, a lot less lethal than the two killers we've seen already. I think that both teams play a part of the game very well that the unknown kind of struggles with, which is, he's a pressure building killer. He wants to, spend a lot of the beginning of the game building up a lot of pressure, getting that UVX down, maybe getting, like a tag or, getting his setup with his jimmies. And I think that both teams, in their own way, play against that very well. Where like this team is slow and methodical, and they're willing to take the extra time that it takes to, whittle down the resources as we see them trying to deny this fresh stage by sending Proxer in to trade for it. But in the same vein, Odyssey plays a really aggressive game. They have, they're willing to, get in there, start slamming gens, start gaining that pressure, even if their chases end up not being super long. Like they're getting a lot out of them for what the time that they're worth. And the unknown can struggle even in his fastest chases to, get tags, get downs. And that means that all that pressure that Odyssey likes to build up, it's just going to build up to that much more. So it's going to be a very exciting matchup as we do manage to secure 2 kills here, what would have otherwise been a 4 out.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the unknown set. Unknown, or the harmless, as some people have coined him, is a very fun and funny set to observe. So I look forward to seeing you all for that one. Stay tuned.
All right, welcome to the tiebreaker between Odyssey and Eneida on Odyssey on the Killer. We have had a remarkable series between these two teams, with them both taking one set in a couple of really exciting matches, as we're getting a really quick tag here in the beginning of this game. Baron, how are we feeling?
For the start of the match for the unknown, this is pretty good for Sakurai. As I remarked earlier, some have coined him the harmless. So getting a very first tag like that can be so tragic for the survivors. And as we can see, this first down coming in so soon, we don't even have a cumulative 10% gen progress yet, and we're already seeing a basement hook. So I'd say it wouldn't be the craziest thing right now for Cybereye to straight up camp this a second, maybe try to pressure some close gens. Um, and I think he's sitting incredibly pretty.
Yeah, I mean, with how, rough this killer has been known to be, like a really quick down like that into the basement with, the new adjustments to the unknown's like range where he can look straight up now and shoot even greater distances than he could before. Like, this is a really, really good spot to be, especially since he has that teleport right by the shack. So he doesn't have to feel like he needs to sit on top of it to pressure it, as long as he's paying enough attention. And these survivors are in a really rough spot if they can't get this basement hook free before second stage.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure they've already sent someone for it. Yeah, they're sending in Disaster, and Disaster may just get in there, like, without, yeah, he's gonna get in there uncontested. This unhook is going to come in, and it's not even gonna be a trade. It's gonna come down to whether or not, Cybereye can manage to body block this in effectively. Um, mm? And I think oh my gosh, just barely. And Boo does go ahead and get Shack Pallet, but he is infected, so this could be pretty bad for him. And I think we are going to see a down right here if Cyber is careful. But he let Boo get a little too much distance, so perhaps Boo lives to see another day for at least a little bit longer. We do see a gen pop. We have another gen that's really close to popping, and one that's at 50%. So this is looking kind of grim for Cyberide. I'm not going to count him out yet. Anything can happen, but this is one hell of a match indeed.
I mean, you're really seeing here why they call this killer the Harmless. It's such a good start and such a advantageous position for Cybereye, and oh, the beautiful taste through the palate. Like, but that chase just went on so long. I mean, you just couldn't confirm it because that power is so disruptible, and you can get so much distance every time he misses. And like Wreckers has this new palette density where they spread things out, and I mean, just really brutal for the unknown here as the survivors play a remarkable match.
No, I agree with you, Liminal, but believe it or not, there are some people who think this palette density update isn't that big of a deal. Of course I would have to disagree, but believe it or not, there are people that wouldn't side with us there. As crazy as that seems, and as we can see it in action. Yeah, sure, that palette in and of it by itself isn't all that strong, but it links into that window right there. Normally, that Wendy's tile doesn't look all that appealing, but that palette kind of makes it playable in a sense. So it's I will get off of my soapbox. But we are going to go ahead and go for our tunnel out here. But here's the problem. This tunnel out's going to come in more than likely with just one gen remaining. We have a gen at 90% right now. Boo's PR already being used up. And not only do we have a gen at 90%, but we currently have a gen at 50% as well that's being doubled. So there's a really good chance that by the time Boo actually gets slapped on that hook, we have a gen that's sitting at like maybe 80% that may or may not be able to get contested.
Yeah, I mean, the survivors have done incredibly to drag this match back but with their teeth and nails, and we're looking like this gen might pop. Now, barely interrupted it. Very well played from Cybereye. Stopping that gen that was, oh, and a beautiful UVX onto the phone. This is looking really, really bad for the survivors. If he can snowball this, he could still manage a 4K1 even with 99% progress.
Yeah, no, this is actually crazy. So I don't know how many of you guys caught that there, but it seems that Cybereye is running the fifth perk slot. It's called Survivors either missing a skill check or getting 7. Is it 7%? I forget the percentage of that happening.
Yes, it is 7%.
Regardless, 7. Yeah. So it's either survivors missing a skill check or getting 7%, and so that gen took a hit from that. And I mean, this is actually just mental. There is no better word for it. This is absolutely mental. We're going to be seeing a hook coming in here, a slug that is going to get picked up by Lemonade, but is probably just going to get slugged right back in that corner. I don't see the survivors really recovering from this without something just short of a miracle.
I mean, if I was the survivors here, I think that I opt instead of trying to save our survivor, stop that regression, get that gen popped, and then worry about what happens afterward. That's how you get back into this game and, play for outs, because if it continues as it's going right now, like, they're going to get 4K1. And Cybereye knows that they're going to be going for that unhook because he saw the scratch marks. And this is exactly what I was talking about. It's like now, that gen is still bleeding. It's still at risk of losing all of its progress. Like, you're not really making it anywhere. He can still build up the slug pressure if he's careful. And I mean, they have to get rid of the Jimmy, which tells them that they're getting on it, and he just has perfect information.
Absolutely. And while he doesn't get sniped there, he is probably going to be going down. He has BL, but he got down in such a way that it wasn't procced there. He does get the stun, though, which is absolutely huge for him. and is going to go back to this hill to try to proc BL. He does. I don't actually think he meant to proc it there in that moment, so he will be going down here, um, not too shortly. And I don't think it's going to matter too much though. He's going to be going down, but uh, Cyber will be losing his last gen for it.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to that, the survivors were working another gen, getting that progress, popping a different gen that Samurai wasn't going to be worried about. And now, like, our only hope is like a slug play for a 4K0, which, I mean, not expected. I mean, we don't expect the unknown to 4K pretty much ever. So, still very well played from Samurai. It's just these survivors, they had perfect pathing every moment of this match, playing every palette that they needed to perfection, always taking the distance that they needed, never falling for the like TPs. And I mean, it shows that like this is what happens when survivors play very efficiently against this killer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe we saw a clean break proc, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and it is Proxer that seems to want to go for the slug, if I'm not mistaken. No, 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 he is getting the door, actually. I was about to say, not getting the door there seemed like a funny decision. He did go for the door, but he is going to be chased off of it. Cyber Eye wising up to the fact that Proxer is likely on that door. Um, Though, I mean, there's not a whole lot he can do here other than hook Lemonade, I think. I mean, these gates are just going to be split at this point, unless the survivors, like, make some massive fumble. Um, I'd say the best that Cyber can really hope here for is maybe a 2K at best.
Yeah, I mean, and that's your fresh hook. Like, obviously, Proxer is also fresh, but you see that clean break proc healing him to full. And we don't really care about getting Disaster here for anything more than stages, and only if we're going to do it in addition to that fresh hook. Like, with how our win cons are set up, which are beautiful UVX catching out our Claudette, which the buy blocks come through and they do manage to get the fresh hook out, and there is the risk that comes with leaving them slug for so long is you just lose that fresh hook and extra stages. And like he does get the Claudette as a consolation prize, making it 6 stages instead of 4, which is still very good for this killer, but it's just way rough when you consider what it could have been.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that was certainly the risk with slugging Lemonade there for so long, but there it is. It will be a 4K, or no, excuse me, lie, 2K. Um, I didn't quite catch the stages, but I know we got at least one fresh out. Did you catch the stages, Liminal?
It was 6 stages.
6 stages. So the win con for our for Cyber Eye survivors will be 5. Yes. So we will see you all then.
All right, welcome back to our tiebreaker set. This time we have Eneida on the killer with Odyssey survivors trying to get less than 6 stages to our unknown, and we need to see an incredibly fast chase, an incredibly fast down like we did in the previous game, and build up that pressure early if we're going to see that win con achieved. Do you think they have it in them, Baron?
Well, as with any match, I would say, it truly can be anyone's game. Um, I I can't make a hard prediction one way or another, but we do see Disaster leaving that chase really fast to go and contest his uncorrupted gens, and we do find Boogity hanging out over here, pushing him off his gen, but we do see 2 other gens that are presently being contested as well. So, like I said, truly can be anyone's match.
As we get a nice little taste through the pallet throw there, you notice that this unknown opted for a much more chase oriented build because they also understand how quick their chases need to be, and we get a nice little bounce off of the dumpster further down there onto our James Sunderland. And in this instance, I think that the serves are in quite a good spot early here because like we in the previous game we saw that really quick basement hook, and in this game our first hook is coming through, you know, much later than that one, and it's not in as quite a good spot even though it is on top of a lot of progress here. But our killer doesn't really have the tools to get back into this game.
No, definitely not. And we do see two gens that are on the verge of popping. This is not looking amazing for Disaster, but it certainly isn't impossible. As I've said, anything can happen. We are going to see that tag coming in on Claude. We now know that two people were over here working that gen. And Mitch is cranking yet another gen. So while we have two survivors off of gens, we are at three gens with only one hook and a gen currently still being progressed. So, you know, it could go just about any way. It does look like Disaster wants to go ahead and confirm here, which is his best course of action in the moment. I think the survivors are going to let him. They recognize that just cranking here is the way to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked about it a little bit at the end of our last matchup, but like this is that Odyssey aggression that we see in all the previous matches where they're very willing to just, you know, take their chase and then immediately start cranking, not really opt to like force resets or, you know, try and get this UVX off of them. They just want gen progress and they want it now. And in against this killer where like his chase is also can only be so strong, it's paying off huge dividends for Odyssey here.
Yeah, it is. And it looks like Cyber Eye is going to go ahead and get this save. It may end up being a trade, and if they don't trade, they may just opt to let him die. The survivors may be calculating that it's enough that they have Gen Prog and that Disaster isn't pressuring gens. But who knows? The other option for someone to come in for the save would be Mitch here. And if Mitch can manage that, that would be huge. But Mitch seems to be hesitating just a little bit. I think Mitch is going to let this happen. And suddenly, it isn't looking impossible for Disaster. Now, they do have a fair amount of gen prog on this Shack gen. But this is looking a bit more winnable for him now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the survivors really couldn't afford to let him die there, but they didn't want to play for a trade because, you know, 6 stages, 3 fresh would also be win con for Eneida. And like, you have to understand from a server perspective that that's a risk they just really were not willing to take. And that just led into a like situation where now a bunch of survivors aren't doing gens, and that aggression is flipped on its head where you're not really doing anything. You're just letting this person die and only one person is getting any progress for it, and now you're 2 gens of somebody dead, and it's looking really rough for our survivors.
Very rough. And now we see a reset coming in while Mitch is being chased. So no gens are presently being progressed. I mean, yeah, we're gonna have 2 healthy survivors by the end of this, sure, but at what cost? We have a win con to meet here, and we've just given Disaster a fair amount of time to work on getting Mitch down and giving him another hook state.
Yeah, and I mean, any down that comes through now at this point that isn't the Claudette, he can just camp it, and if that person dies, like, that's it, that's the game. And it's like, and that's really risky, but like we also happen to know that our killer has no ed, so if they opt to pop the gen first and then come in for the save, then that's just gonna snowball into, you know, another kill. And like the serves can't even really say that they know build or anything because our unknown hasn't vaulted a window yet. So with so many unknown variables, they can't really have at this point discertained that the killer has no ed. And like have to feel the Disaster feels really comfortable right now with the state of the game.
very comfortable, but we do have two gens that are really close. Nancy's gen is about to pop, and so is Shaq. So the best case scenario for Disaster right now may just be to unless Nancy gives them a quick down, could be to can't Mitch to second and then try to catch them off guard with Noed. But if he can get this quick down on Cyber Eye, that can make all the difference here.
Yeah, and I mean, with the serves positioning, he doesn't really have to camp that heavily either. He just can just play the chase, and then he knows that the serve is only going to get unhooked at basically as he's getting another hook. And when you're playing for, you know, at this point only 6 stages, which you have 5 of already, like, you're very comfortable just playing this, you know, hook, take a chase, hook that person, win the game. Even if they pop all the gens, now you have no ed, and like you only need 1 stage now to win the game. Like, it's looking pretty impossible for our Survivor players.
Yeah, it really is. And Disaster seems to be playing this like power game right now, and I'm not entirely sure, you know, how that's gonna work out for him. But it still could go either way. But I am a little worried for him now at this point because this gen is going to pop, and they're gonna hop right on that gate. They're going to know about Noed right now.
Yeah, but unfortunately, unless they're here for this pallet save, that hook is the win con. And I mean, even by more so if they can't unhook the Zeta, who is hooked on top of our no-hit totem. And I mean, Disaster said, screw a bunch of that. I'm playing for more.
I mean, why not if we're at WinCon, right? Nancy seems to know it. Disaster seems to know it. He really loses nothing here. Very well played by both sides. Liminal, tell us who is taking home this one.
I mean, Eneida played a remarkable game in their serve set. I mean, the end was a little bit like rough, and you know they did manage to secure a couple extra stages to confirm that 6-stage, you know, game, which is a lot of stages for this killer in particular. But I think that on the back end, like Odyssey's serves just couldn't quite keep up, even with the very aggressive approach, even though it seemed like they were in a really good spot for so long in the match. Them letting that serve die just, you know, kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I think that Disaster took a lot of, you know, liberty with their mistakes and has got a remarkable result out of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. This is it's been so fun casting with you, Liminal. It's a pleasure as always. I am going for real this time. That is not a threat. That is a promise. Baron is clocking out as of right now. Thank you all so much. However, we do have another matchup coming up. So Liminal, do you know anything about that? Tell us.
All right, so we do have Behelit versus Exile coming up with Artist, Springtrap, and Unknown. I will not be going anywhere. I will be sticking around, and I will be joined by Center in the casting booth for that match in a moment. Stay tuned.